Well, everyone, we promised we would not be a long time in coming, and here we are. The America's RMR starts in just about an hour and 26 minutes at time of recording, but that means we are going to really put our decision making to the test. Will we be Nostradamus or not? We'll have to find out. Boggs, Laz, Pineapple Phillips, the We Three Kings have convened again. Laz, it's good to have you. Nate, the same. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Yeah, doing good.
I'm doing good as well. I thought we were going down the line, just going one at a time, but no, I'm doing good. It's only been a week, so there's not too much to catch up on, but it's a big week. It's RMR time. It starts in, as you mentioned, like 2 hours from now, hour 26 thereabouts, and so it's a lot of teams in North, and not even North America. It's the Americas RMR, so lots of teams in the RMR. Only what is it? 7 spots. 7 spots out of 16 teams. It's going to be a very exciting opening night and following couple days as well.
Yeah, about the same for me.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and a lot of teams, a lot of spots available. 7 this time for the major, and hopefully that can continue to grow to help grow the North American region too. But we decided to do the good old-fashioned tier list today. Each one of us put together our little tier lists. Nate, of course, you could probably expect what's going to come on his tier list if you have any idea how this man's mind works. And then we'll put one together that's kind of going to be the official We Three Kings prediction overall. But let's kick it off with good old Pineapple Phillips himself. And to nobody's surprise, Boss is at the top of the favorites list.
Oh, God.
This is a first and foremost vibes only tier list, okay? Let's be clear. It took me 30 seconds to make. Some teams gave me some more trouble than others, but of course, there was no question on number 1. Boss makes sense. Liquid as well, number 2 seed coming into it, makes sense to me. I look at Fury. I haven't watched any of their games in a long time. I see Fallen on the roster. I bumped them down quite a few. They're number 1 in terms of global ranking. I don't care. They could maybe make a run, but knowing that they're not in Brazil with Fallen on the roster means they're going down. That's just my first 3 right there. Out the gate. Always love Pain. They always play better than you'd expect. Complexity, hit and miss, but they have a good chance given the rivalry. M80, we talked about their slump ad nauseum last week. Running through it as fast as I can. 9Z, I love them. I love them so much. Only ranked 25. Haven't seen anything very exciting from them. They're going in, could make a run. Love Wildcard as well. If there's a team in that could make a run that I want to see go through, it's M80, 9Z, or Wildcard, but I'm leaning more towards Wildcard because I feel like they've kind of hit their stride as of late. Looking next, Imperial. Kind of a team that we've seen a good bit in South American closed qualifiers. I like the roster. Phelps, Vinny, tried Decenti, no way. I can see them definitely going through. Nouns has been struggling a bit, but still can definitely punch above their weight class. And then the rest, I don't know too much about anymore. Made in Brazil, it's kind of the same roster as it used to be. Still very good. I'd say I'm kind of underselling them a bit. Legacy as well. Maybe I'm underselling them a bit given how they did in ECL and everybody else. I really just have not seen anything from them recently. I don't know, but I know based on their standings, they should be down there. So that's where I'm putting them.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, I have to agree. I think you're underselling MIBR a little bit. I don't think you're underselling Legacy at all, but I do think you're underselling Fury a decent amount as well. That roster is still doing good internationally. But Legacy, I honestly feel like they could fall into the no chance category. The only reason they're not is because of the lack of depth in the bottom half of this bracket.
Mm-hmm. Case, Crew, really 2 teams that none of us know outside of the region. I mean, Crew's the secondary team to Bestia when it comes to, what is it, Argentina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Argentina, yeah.
I got it right, thank goodness.
Hey, good job, man. Hey, it's good.
But I really don't see much from them. Like I said, the second team coming out of Argentina besides the likes of Bestia really doesn't instill confidence. I'd put Bestia above Crew in that case. Both of them likely lack that depth. And I agree with Boggs. I think Made in Brazil could probably move up more so than Nouns. And I think Furia could move up if you're thinking with your noggin, but I'm not. I'm thinking Fallen should not be on a team anymore, in my opinion, or should not have been on a team for quite a while. He's probably better now. I haven't watched any of their games, I'll be honest. So I'm just a big Fallen hater, and that's why they're down there.
Okay. Yeah, actually, to be quite honest, out of this, like, I was expecting you to throw like a crazy favorite in here, and I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, it's gonna be Boss because we talked about this before, and I thought 9Z. I'm actually really shocked that you put Bestia as a no chance. Like, I know this was a 30-second thing, but for me, I feel like Bestia is actually a team that is lately kind of been showing they have pretty good potential, and they're on a bit of a tear. So I'm actually kind of surprised on that. But I mean, maybe they fumble, right? Maybe they drop it with all the pressure of the major and kind of getting qualified. But definitely a different team that I thought probably would have been deserved to go up a bit more. And I don't know, did you do this in the way that you meant like first team on the left is like the best team in that category, or did you just kind of throw them in? Okay,
I just kind of threw them in there.
I kind of
the ones at the end were like Bestia, Made in Brazil, Imperial, were those teams where I was like, okay, I don't know where to put them. I'm doing them last, and I just ended up at that far end.
Yeah,
that's why it looks the way it does.
No, fair enough. And I agree with Boggs. Like I think MIBR probably could have gone up in the middle just for my perspective. I think that whole like could make a run. I think this is where the NA region or the Americas is so exciting just because so many of these teams really can beat each other. It's just going to be such a, well, I was going to say wild card, but it is going to be really just, roll the dice to see what's going to happen here. But I think there is some clear favorites and there's these big potentials of upsets. But I couldn't agree with you more about the Nouns thing though. Like I'm still pessimistic about them. Like I'm no faith in them. I want them to do it. I'd love to get some Noun stickers, but I just don't know if I'm there, man. I really don't think I'm there yet.
Like I said, I feel like they can do it. They just need that miracle to
be
hitting their stride. I think they're the quintessential needs a miracle team. M80 is the quintessential could make a run team. Pain is a quintessential good chance team because they always perform good at these kinds of events. Boss is a quintessential favorite because they're so goddamn good. And Case, because I literally had no idea. I just knew the team name. I don't know how long the roster's been together. I knew they were a quintessential no chance team for most, at least casual observers. And I consider myself more than casual, but definitely not Nostradamus in this respect.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I've seen Case and Crew a little bit more doing some CCT work, but neither team inspire confidence to me. I don't think either of those teams even really belongs at the RMR, to be completely honest with you. Izolo's Laser deserves it more than these two do. And that just kind of, I think, puts a perspective on my opinion of those two teams.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, like I think Crew and Case, I'm not going to spoil any of mine, but yeah, they're definitely teams that I'm like, no, there's just no way. If they make any sort of a run and cause upsets, like this is going to be all the news about them. But like, I just don't see a world where that happens with these two teams. Like I really, really don't at all. So I think that makes a lot of sense. You put it as a no chance because I think it pretty much is zero chance in my opinion.
And I will say as well, there's also a world where teams like, I'm going to say just my single team, Boss, struggle because they simply don't have that support. There's only one team on here that doesn't have an organization, and it's Boss.
Yeah.
So leading up into this, doing boot camps, it simply becomes a thing that sometimes you can't really do. You're playing from home more often than not. You're going to the RMR, coming off that online only practice, and that becomes a very big thing going into a tournament like this where maybe Case, maybe Crew had that time to go for a boot camp, had that organizational support. So we'll have to see what happens. But again, I still put Boss as my favorite in my heart. Didn't even talk about Liquid. Liquid is that quintessential team that I think should make it through. They're a very solid team in terms of ranking. They have the pedigree. They were my quintessential favorites heading into this. I think it's almost everybody's quintessential favorites going into this. But again, Boss is there for vibes.
We love the vibes. And now let's see what Laz is vibing with over with his picks here. There we go. Laz is up now.
Whoa, 3 favorites? Whoa.
That's a bit risky there, bud.
What do you, I'm just saying, man. Like I think it works. Like I don't think that's unfair. Like look, I feel like the clear favorite, like we talked about. I'm not going to waste time talking about Liquid. I think yes, they've been having a lot of struggles lately, but I think in this RMR, like just for the Americas, it shouldn't be a problem. I know early stages they had some issues, but I was a different team, things like that. So I'm not really worried about them. I would say Pain, in my opinion, I feel like they've been actually doing quite well internationally, like considering some of the competition they have been playing. They've had some good score lines against some decent teams. So I'm not too taken away from them. I actually do think they have a pretty decent potential. Have to remember too, like just the group of themselves too. Like I like Big Uzera. I think he's a good caller. I like Snow. I think he's a really good prospect of a young player. So there's a lot of these guys that I'm kind of excited to see and what they can do. So I am putting them there. And kind of alluding to what Bog said as well as Furia. Like I think despite the Fallen comments, which I know Thorin would probably love you right now, Nate, for this, but I do think Furia is actually playing a lot better. I think they're kind of getting on a little bit more of the proper wagon, so the wheels are spinning a bit better. So I put them as a favorite. Any thoughts on you guys on the top row yet? Before I keep rambling.
I have no
Furia,
major complaints.
big negative.
Listen,
Judging you for that one.
We'll get the internal bets going between you and
Listen,
me.
are you just copy pasting the like HLTV ratings right now? That's what it feels like you're doing.
No.
Personally, it's what it feels like you're doing.
This is from the heart, dude. This is like what I
This is
thought.
from the
Okay,
heart.
well, continue telling me what your heart has
Okay,
to say.
okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, okay, so I think we last time when we had our episode, we were a little bit of an indifference with M80. I know there's been some highs, there's been some lows. I'm still pretty optimistic. These guys have really, honestly, bulldozed NA, like the ECL league for the most part. They won it. They did really well. I think they're gonna do fine in this RMR. I don't know. Okay, so this one was really hard. I am a true Complexity fan. I've followed them since day one. Like, this is talking about when Jason Lake first made the team. Like, I'm talking like 1.6 roster with like all the old guys. Like, I'm not even going to go into it. This was hard for me though, because I still think they can do well, but they're still a team that is proven. They have a lot of weak points. The inconsistencies are just ridiculous. They're off the charts. Like, I never know what to expect with Complexity. So this was a really hard category for me to put them in. I did it because I love Complexity, but honestly, I'm not going to be surprised if they really do terribly, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt as a fan. And then landing with Imperial, Imperial with like Phelps and Vinny, like Decenti and stuff. Like, I think it is a decent team. So I think Imperial, they're ranked 25, 26, I think. So not a bad overall ranking, but I do think they have kind of been playing decent. So for me, I was saying they have a pretty decent chance considering of what this competition is, from my perspective.
Just noticing you overstepped Made in Brazil when it comes to the Brazilian teams. I thought that was interesting. The Imperial Made in Brazil debate is definitely something that's kind of warring in my head as to who has the favorite. Like, Made in Brazil specifically against the top tier teams, their whole bit is that they get Insani activated and they play around Insani. That is the bit of this team. And it works surprisingly often, but it does not work often enough. Sure, they have a higher HLTV rating right now, but I feel like they're really going to struggle in the RMR when compared to a team like Imperial that has that depth across the board. And so I think I do agree with you putting Imperial above Made in Brazil.
Oh, damn. We agree.
Okay.
I like it. Okay.
I'm going to hold my tongue here.
Oh no. Okay. Well, and then I think I kind of made this comment a bit before with Pineapples is like, they could make a run. Again, I think we're with the Americas RMR, we're in such a big state where a lot of these teams have, kind of played each other with close games. They've also had blowout games. This is where I really think this opens it up a lot. I put Boston here, like, and this was tough because I know Pineapple's a huge Boss fan. I think Boss are actually on a pretty good stride right now. I do think they're doing the right things. Like, when you think about how they got here, they did lose to Wildcard, which was really interesting. Like, they went 0-2 against Wildcard. They beat teams like Elevate. They beat teams like Legacy. That's why I kind of put them in here, is because I think they're better than Wildcard, but they lost to them. I think they're better than Legacy. I think they can be better than 9Z. Sorry, I know you both are going to hate me for that. I think Red Candidates are kind of a bit of a toss-up just because of who's on that roster. So I put Boss as the number one team in this category because I do want to have that NA bias a little bit with it, but I am excited that they really can compete. And like, them being a non-supported team, I think they have so much to play for. Not to say these other teams don't, but I feel like that extra passion and like someone like Warden kind of behind the realms here with the coaching abilities also just adds a little bit more fire and gas for me on this one. That makes me excited.
Wow. Nate, did you expect Laz to be the most bullish on Boss out of the three of us?
No. I mean, Boss is a team, like you said, that stands to gain the most. They're a team that's been struggling throughout the last like 5 seasons, and they're still number 72 in the world somehow. They're not a team I put above 9Z. I can see them beating Red Canids because Red Canids is a team that we're kind of rating higher simply because of the firepower they added, which is Coldzera. Coldzera and Henny, which are two very hit and miss players. Coldzera more missing nowadays than before. Henny as well, especially missing more often than the old days. So I am not very hot on Red Canids unless they've switched something up in a big way because they really have struggled. I think they had a honeymoon period at some of the close qualifiers we did, and other than that, they haven't done anything, not even a splash in the water. Bestia, a bit surprising. I feel like your tier maker overall is more optimistic, I think is the best way to put it. I feel like it's far more not top heavy, but middle heavy than mine was.
Yeah.
I was trying to be kind of critical, you know.
Yeah.
It makes sense for 9Z to me to kind of always slump and then hit their stride and then slump. Bestia is a bit of a surprise to me, but Boss as well, I think is the biggest surprise, just realistically speaking, because they don't have that organizational support. They're either going to come out swinging or they're going to bomb out real quick.
Yeah, and Bestia here in the same breath as Legacy, MIBR, and 9Z is a bit of a shock to me. I know you mentioned earlier you think they've been doing really well. I think Bestia kind of been on a downturn. What I've seen in a lot of the qualifiers, I have not been too impressed with Bestia's performances, and I feel like they just don't stack up as well against the domestic competition, and they're not going to stack up well against the North American teams they'll have to play against too. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, like I felt like this one was probably the most dicey, just because again, there's so many of these teams that I think can beat each other, and there is like upset material. Because you have to also remember, like, let's not forget, I did try to use this in my quick thought process because we're time constrained here with the matches coming up soon, but they are BO1s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of BO1s, and then those elimination and advanced games do turn into BO3s. So I kind of used the premise in the beginning with the BO1s, and then like I know that probably won't maybe work out for me with BO3s, but I think in this middle realm, like this one is easy where you could just say like any of these teams could beat each other, like no doubt. Like I feel like a BO1 potential upset is completely open in my opinion. But hey, look, I'm all for it, and I'm happy to be wrong. But I knew you were gonna be mad about the 9Z thing. I had to throw that in there as a little jab. But I think I do think that Red Canids are. I felt like Cold Zera's been playing okay considering who he is. I also think that. Oh, I agree. Like, I'm not a huge Henny fan. I never really have been since like way back in the day. I get that he was the best pickup at the time, but I don't think he's my favorite pick. But I do like with him being in this team. I felt like they started playing better. They really were missing like that kind of a presence of an op. But I'm still not convinced it's like they will make the major. I don't. I mean, I said they could make a run, but I'm not overly convinced in this tier chart that I made, even though I kind of put him in second. But
The thing I'm most surprised about is Bestia and Legacy over Wildcard.
I am too.
I gotta throw some spice, boys. I gotta throw
Boss
some
over
spice in here.
Wildcard,
Come
too.
on.
No offense to the Boss boys, but Wildcard kind of trounced them.
Yeah.
It was not close.
And I agree, but we'll let you finish out these last two rows.
Yeah.
I think you can probably just do them together, honestly.
I
'Cause I
will.
think we're both in agreement, or we're all in agreement for the most part. But
Yeah, the no chance I think makes sense. Yeah, honestly, I was just gonna say for wildcard, I felt like the reason I kind of went this way was because I really wasn't impressed with them at Atlanta. Now I know what you're gonna say. They had a sub. I get it.
they're better than a matey.
I still think they were not very good. I still think that was a telling sign for me. And then the only other thing I was going to take away from this team is the fact of them being a relatively young roster, I would say. I think there's still that lack of like LAN experience, which can really backfire. Like LAN experience is a huge thing. I think M80 has some really good experience on the team with like Lake being new, obviously, and the young guy. He's kind of an exception, I would say. But I do feel like Wildcard is still kind of figuring out kind of their footing. But I mean, I want to see a little bit more out of their full roster, obviously. I want to see a little bit more out of Sonic. I would like to see a little bit more out of, I think he goes by Jaba or JB. I still don't even know to this day, but I would like to see him playing his anchor roles a little bit better, in my opinion, as well. And then Nouns, I'm just going to make it short and sweet because Nouns just piss me off all the time because they have good matches and then they suck and then they're good and then they're honestly like complexity. Like I almost kind of put them in that same kind of inconsistency. So I'm still waiting for Nouns to change up something just to add that oomph for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think it's been lackluster and I don't know what it is because I feel like Adren coaching is great. I like George. I think he's a good player. I think Rush has been actually surprisingly not too bad on this team. I thought he was going to be, I'm going to be honest, I thought he was going to be an anchor, like in the bad way, meaning like he's going to be dead weight. But surprisingly, he's been playing quite well. Junior's kind of a hit and miss when he plays that better international competition, where I feel like he's not as good as when he kind of bulldozes teams and normally in our NA region. But yeah, I just want to see something happen here. But I'm saying they need a miracle. It's going to be a big one for sure.
I agree. I feel like they're very much like complexity at a domestic level, and that just puts them way below complexity. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I think also with Vanity leaving Valorant for good and looking to come back to CS, I'm thinking Nouns might want to make that pickup. That's something I think would be a brilliant move for the Nouns squad.
100%. I could not even agree with you more. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Boggs, because like that, him kind of announcing that and wanting to come back, a lot of these teams, like even the middle row or that like needs a chance or needs a miracle, sorry, I would say he would be such a great addition. Yes, I know he's going to be rusty, but it's not like his mind is like wandered off too much. Like he's been playing the IGL role or fulfilling that role for so long. So I'm so excited for 2025 just because there is going to be so much shuffling happening. It's going to be unreal.
Well,
I agree. I think Nouns is going to be an interesting one to watch. Overall, I'd say yours is good. A little bit more optimistic. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm excited to see what Boggs has planned, though.
I know. I'm actually, I've been waiting now. I'm like, this is going to be some crazy thing he throws out, like some Hail Mary. He's like, here you go, boys.
Yeah, Nine's going to be a good chance. I guarantee it. You know, we might as well just let it happen.
Let's run it up here, Boggs. Let's see what you got. What do you got cooking, buddy?
All right. Well, as you can see, I put Bestie as a favorite, which
Damn.
So I'm going to start from the bottom here, actually. And there's a reason for that. I don't think any of these three teams belong here, and I would honestly consider dropping Red Canids to that as well. Red Canids barely made the Needs a Miracle. I don't think they have much of a chance. Like, they need more than one miracle. They need like 3 to be able to make it because they don't stack up with almost any of these teams. Legacy is going to destroy Red Canids. Nouns is the only team above Red Canids on this list that I have here that I think might struggle against this team. I don't think Boss will struggle against Red Canids that much. I think Boss can take them out easily, especially given they've had time to mesh with Fruit Cup more. They've been able to at least practice heavier. I know they didn't have a boot camp, but I do think this Boss team has that chance and has that potential to take out a team like Red Canids with relative ease. Even in a best of 1, I think it's the only time Boss might struggle against Red Canids. I don't think Red Canids takes Boss in a best of 3. I don't think Red Canids take Legacy in a best of 3. I think that's a 2-0 straight away. Nouns and Red Canids are teetering on that no chance side of things and kind of barely scraping up into the Needs a Miracle.
These are fair. More critical of Nouns than I think we've been, but...
I'm very critical of this team. The playoff performance in ECL that I saw inspired negative confidence in me, just given how it was the George show and everybody else had like a sub 1.0 HLTV rating. That's not going to get you to a major.
That's true. That is fair. I'm wondering if they had time to boot camp. I haven't been following nearly closely enough. The RMR's kind of snuck up on me. So I'm interested to see if they can regain some form, if they can show us what was that run way back in the day when it was even George. It was like Carson. It was the old
on that
team.
roster.
60. It was Cynic on that roster. I think he was like the old roster that made you almost believe they had a chance. Like they got to like the 5th round of the RMR. They got to like the 2-2, and then I think lost out. Maybe it was 1-3. Either way, they got close. And that's kind of what I'm looking for from Nouns, and I'm just not having that kind of same belief now.
Yeah. No, I actually, so far, I actually don't disagree with this a lot. I think there is some good logic behind this. And yeah, I agree. Like Red Canids or whatever. I'm still kind of thinking the miracle makes sense for them. Nouns, we've already beaten that dead horse already. Unless this boot camp and the time prepping, they're going to do something big. I mean, I just was quickly looking. Like their first match, which is later on tonight, they're playing Pain. So not a fun match for Nouns to open up with, and like not really historically their best, matchup in sense of, head to head, but okay, whatever, that's fine. If they get an upset BO1, like, okay, this kind of, it just makes us wonder like how much prep they did, but Otherwise, yeah, the legacy one was interesting for me. I thought they kind of showed, in my opinion, they were doing quite well, and like just again with that young roster. But I don't disagree. Where it seems like when the moments are pretty high and things are kind of at stake, I feel like they're kind of dropping it a little bit. ECL they weren't able to win it, even though they were the number one team. Other tournaments as well, like where they kind of have the moments, but they choke. So I'm actually not totally against this. So not bad.
I think we're all in agreement on that bottom three. As much as I hate glossing over teams. They're teams that simply aren't familiar to us, and that definitely speaks to something with Bestia we are familiar with.
Yeah.
But when we don't see them outside of the South American closed qualifiers, or even in the South American closed qualifiers, a majority of the time, especially for Boggs and I have done a lot of those.
Yeah,
it kind of just tells you that they stand no chance, or they lucked out getting here, and so those three make sense to me. Red Canids, I'll give you that extra bit because, again, of that relatively new addition. Maybe they'll hit a honeymoon phase. Maybe they won't. Who knows? Boss Needs a Miracle is dismally realistic to me. But, for the most part, I think we're all in agreement this far.
We'll get the copium. Get the copium, boys. Come on. We're all NA boys. We gotta get the NA, a little bit of biasness going in here. We gotta cook with some premium gas here. That's what I'm saying.
I want to know what's on their jerseys. I don't know if they had a media day poster or not, but I want to know what they're wearing. I want to know what they're rocking for this RMR.
We'll probably be able to find out soon because the games are starting not too far from now.
Yeah, a couple hours from now. Yeah,
but
I'm kind of hyped. They better get some action outside of the hotel rooms because that's what they're playing the RMR. But
yeah. Now, if I could circle back to Legacy real quick, because I didn't really talk about them. The reason I put them so low is because what I saw out of them from Challenger Kato was more than disappointing. And what I saw out of Legacy at the tail end of ECL playoffs was a flat team that beat teams that they should have beat. And when they met any form of competition, they folded like a lawn chair. And that's not going to get you through a gauntlet. And I even think in the best of ones, that doesn't favor a team like Legacy, who might need that second or third map to be able to put something over the line.
I agree. And actually, the one thing I was going to say, and I'm sorry I keep doing this, but I was going to say, just because the matches are coming up, so I think it's relevant, but Legacy, their opening match is against Furia. And I'm just looking back. I'm trying to look at all the old history, and it looks like they're 2-2 against each other. Every single match except for one game, like historically, has gone like the old 16-13, 16-14s, all these things. Again, historically, there was one game where it was a blowout in the sense of a blowout, like 16-9 victory for Furia. But and that Brazil versus Brazil, it's always exciting, especially these two teams. And probably Furia is that more veteran team, whereas Legacy, I would say, is more that younger talent where they're still kind of getting their footing and kind of figuring things out. But man, that's going to be a banger, and that's in an hour. So that's probably that's a good way to see how much Legacy's been able to kind of turn it around in such a short amount of time. But yeah, you talked about a miracle. If they can get a win like that, a BO1 quick, off the gate, might not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned Challenger Kato, and I went to go look at it and see how things were shook out because I couldn't remember off the top of my head. It's surprising. There's 3 teams all from South America here, all in the same group. Payne topped it out at 2-0. Legacy beat Made in Brazil, and Made in Brazil came out last in the groups, went 7th to 8th out of the Challenger groups. So it's kind of interesting watching those 3 stack up in the same group and seeing how it panned out. And it kind of is reflected in our, for the most part, reflected in our tier lists, barring, of course, that Made in Brazil swap, which is kind of the big thing that we're going to talk about when we get to it on Boggs's, because that is kind of a big jump, in my opinion.
And there's a reason for that. And that is solely seeding. Because the seeding gives you such a huge advantage in a best of one system, like the RMR, in a Swiss system too. It's the reason why I put Made in Brazil at good chance. But before I get there, the make a run area, I feel like could make a run and good chance could kind of be interchanged a little bit, especially when we're looking at complexity at M80. Both teams on paper should make the major without much trouble. Will they actually live up to that expectation, though? That is where I have my doubts. Complexity having more experience, they should have a higher chance of that. I would have loved to put Complexity in the favorites category, but I can't, in all good conscience, do that. I have to put them in good chance. M80, I have to put them and could make a run because they've been on a massive slide. Even them winning ECL was not terribly convincing, as much as I would have liked to see. 9Z down here as well, they've been on a bit of a slide, and while they should make it, they should have a good chance, there is a chance they fumble the ball at the goal line and lose out to a team like a Legacy, like a Boss, like a Wild Card, who I have here with Imperial and that could make a run. And I put Wild Card up here because they had a better performance at Atlanta than M80. And even their game against FlyQuest, who won the whole tournament, was relatively close. And I think that gives more positives to speak of for Wildcard. The way they lost ECL playoffs was more damning than anything, though. And if they would have done better in ECL playoffs, I could have easily put them in has a good chance. But I don't know. These four teams here in particular are all, you could make a run or you could fall out like 1-3 and just bomb out of the RMR.
Mm-hmm. The more I think about it, the more 9Z is like the older version of M80. You know, they had their breakout performance at ESL Pro League. They kind of become that mainstay ever since, but they stumble a little bit at home immediately there afterwards. 9Z is just a more entrenched and I'd say slightly higher highs version of M80 because they did do it better overall in the Pro League. But I don't know. Like you said, that this whole section of could make a run is like the 50-50 zone. And it kind of makes the RMR scary, but it also makes it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does. It really, really does. And that's where it's like, again, I think mine was Pineapple was saying like mine was a bit more like optimistic. And that's where I was saying, I think a lot of these teams probably could, you know, beat each other and all these upsets, things like that. Like, cause I know even, I think JT, an interview like from Complexity, like he said it was going to be, he thinks that it'd be them, Liquid, M80, and I think he said Boss. Like I think that was his top four. And I was like, that's really interesting. Even Boss, like, you know, so Nate might be cooking with something. But anyways, I was just gonna say like I was really hyped about Wildcard in the beginning, but for some reason I just feel like their whole like roster issues like countless times. I feel like it's just such a burden for them. But look, I'm happy if they can make a run. I truly am. Like, I do think it's an exciting team. I love that JBA's on that team. I like the two Swedes that came over, so I'd be excited. And we all know who's sponsored by, so that's obviously a perk too. But I'm just saying. I'm just kidding.
And JT said he wouldn't be surprised if all four NA teams went through.
Yeah.
That was what he said.
That's a really interesting statement, though, just because of like the competition you have to play against. So I don't know.
Because that literally leaves room for one Brazilian team. There's 7 spots.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But, wait, 3. If you take 4 of the spots, then they
because you have Complexity, Liquid, and then M80 Boss, Wildcard, Nouns. That leaves one hole.
What did he say?
I actually just pulled it up. He said, I got it right here. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if Complexity, M80, Nouns, and Boss would make it.
Nouns.
That's crazy. Like, I never would say Nouns.
That's interesting. I wonder what the scrims are looking like, because that's got to be some scrim insight there.
That could be, yeah. And I'm glad you say that, because the only other thing I'm going to make a comment, I feel like I'm just talking so much, I'm sorry, but I was like,
no, go ahead.
Is, you know, when you have good scrims, I think we all know this, it doesn't always correlate to the actual final test of what you've been doing. Mm-hmm. Yes, it can be an indication that, like, good, our boot camp was good, scrims were good, but we've seen teams that did that and they fumbled the bag.
Yeah.
But man, I'm glad you said that, Boggs, because when I read that, I was just kind of like, he knows something we don't.
Oh, okay, so he excludes Liquid. That's what he does. Okay,
yeah.
Like, where does a Liquid slot in? I was like,
well, maybe
Liquid count. No, he said he doesn't include them. I just checked. Okay, that's why I was confused. So he doesn't include them. He didn't include himself, so that makes sense. But there's some really big NA coping, and as we know, when we put them higher up on the totem pole, they always fail. That's my key takeaway right now.
That's why. It's also kind of why I put the NA teams lower, because I'm like, don't give me hope. Don't do this to me again.
And I hate to say it, but I kind of agree with JT. I don't consider Liquid NA. I haven't for a long time, especially when they went for that EU core. They tried to go to EU and then they came back. Ever since then, I don't consider them NA. We don't seem competing in anything NA because they don't have to.
They're still more NA than Cloud9, though.
Yeah. Cloud9 is, yeah, they are. But still, the point stands. I don't consider them NA, and I don't think a lot of people do. Yeah. Boggs' tier list feels more centered in logic than mine. It feels kind of like a mix of ours in that mine was entirely vibes based. The last went for something that makes sense. Boggs went for something that made sense, except Boggs is more bottom heavy like mine. It's kind of like a mixture of the two.
It's my pessimistic outlook on things.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well,
and now do we make another one now? Do we Frankenstein them all together and see what happens?
Yeah. I don't really think I need to talk about the top 5 here. I already touched on complexity and MIBR. Pain, I could slot them up to favorite. Kind of, maybe, possibly.
Maybe.
I don't know how they'll actually do against M80, 9Z. Even Boss, I think, might be able to take a best of 1. So it comes down to some scrappiness and a little bit of that RNG mechanic that you get in this kind of best of 1. But yeah, let's make our tier list now, and let me get that up on the screen. So that's actually up there.
And I'm going to start things off. Hot, Crew, Case, and Bestia all go in the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, you guys, you're hating Bestia. Okay.
I mean, you could put Bestia in the tier above, but
I don't know. It's fine. Like, I mean, it's two on one here. It's fine.
I'll order it
in
order of how good I think they are.
Okay.
That's fair.
Love that.
No, we think Liquid's going to be a favorite, and since they're not NA in any of our eyes, that means that we cannot jinx them in this way. So I think that's a safe choice.
Yep.
Someone else say something. I did before.
Fallen Hater would probably be mad if we put Furia in the favorites.
I would be a little bit irate. However, you can do whatever you please. You both put them in your favorites.
Well,
so.
we could. I mean, Boggs, you and I both put them as top favorites, but we could put them as a good chance if you want to.
I feel like they deserve favorite.
I think so too. Like I think they're gonna do it.
They've had some better, decent performances that I just didn't watch.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like they should qualify before Liquid does.
Okay.
At any rate, I'm not very bullish on Liquid. I think they get through this just by virtue of raw power, but as far as the overall major is concerned, I honestly think some of the other teams will make a deeper run if they qualify.
Okay.
Very hot take right there.
Okay.
And we all put Complexity a good chance because we don't want to jinx them.
Yep. Are we all putting Pain in good chance too?
I'd be agreeable with that because that's why I had them as a favorite. So yeah, I would put them as a good chance. Personally.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well.
Do we put a third team in good chance, or do we just stack these two? Make a run and miracle.
For make a run and miracle.
I mean, the way we have it, that's 3 teams divided by 8 spots, or 8 teams divided by 3 spots in this sort of middle category.
Yeah, actually, okay. Sure. So I'm probably going to lose this argument because I think you both think that could make a run. You probably want wild card in there, right?
That one's on the cusp
in there, but I could also drop them down. I'm not
opposed the top of
to that.
Yeah, I could see them being top of Needs a Miracle.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like M80 go and make a run for sure.
M80, 9Z.
Yep.
And then I'll let you make your case for the other ones.
Boss baby. Arbiter
of truth. Arbiter of truth.
Could make a run, man. I'm still thinking it, man. I'm thinking the Dark Horse team, non-supported. They're gonna just get overlooked.
Who do they play first?
Here, let me look.
M80. They play M80 first.
Oh my god. Oh.
They play M80 first.
There's a world in which Boss win that. There is a 40% chance Boss win that. And I know that's outlandish to say, but it's a best of 1. And Boss are coming in with nothing to lose.
All I'm saying is I'm seeing all of Boss tweet RMR in 4 hours, RMR in 4 hours. I haven't seen Swisher tweet anything yet. I haven't seen anybody on M80 tweet anything yet. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Is this going to be the We Three Kings hot take of the day?
Well, no, the hot take is that they're the favorites, to be fair. I still stand by that.
No way.
I can drop Boss and make a run here. I can do it. It could be the hot take. This can be the make or break hot take that just makes us look like absolute geniuses or utter buffoons.
Yeah, for sure. I'm done with that. I like it.
Let's
roll
do
the dice. Yeah.
I agree.
Roll a D20, Les.
Now, do you want I'd say there's 3 teams up for grabs in that 4th slot. Wild Card, Made in Brazil, and Imperial. Which one of those 3 do you think deserves a spot and could make a run?
Realistically, I would go with Imperial out of those three.
Yeah, that's where my mind was going to. I probably would say Imperial as well, to be honest.
I agree.
Okay.
All
Now,
right.
if we want to get really, really nitty gritty, because we're doing this in order, right? We said
Oh,
Fury
we
would be
got
number
5
one,
teams.
number 2. We have 5. What?
Yeah.
Didn't run the numbers.
I can't math.
That's okay.
Now,
We could still add one more to make a run, could we not?
We could.
yeah, we can.
Like if you think any of these other teams, like I mean,
Maybe
MIB
are
are
a wild card.
You think they're a wild card? Okay.
One of those two.
Or
But
we could trust JT.
I don't trust them.
I don't trust
don't
the
trust
Scrim.
them.
I don't trust Scrim Bucks.
I don't trust
don't
that
either.
rat.
Especially because it's the individual performances that have really made me beat Nouns past death, essentially.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be convinced Nouns is ready, but
All right.
yeah.
So, by process
I'm
of
happy.
elimination, we say made in Brazil.
Look, if they make it through and they get stickers, I'm buying stickers. Like
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
all in, boys, but like I need the miracle run here. This is like
we,
everything has to
Yeah.
line up.
the saying is, you're your own biggest critic, and we are NA. So
Mm-hmm.
it just does make sense.
And
No,
then
I
we
would-
put Boss and make a run.
It's freshy. What do you want?
You need a hot take. You need a hot take, man.
You
and it
do.
is freshy. Yes.
They have
it
been
is.
Yeah.
they've been shackled by online for God knows how long. Okay, now they get unleashed. Now they're on land. They're still playing in a familiar environment because they're in a hotel room, but they're playing on land, and that means they stand a real chance. Okay.
Yep.
Now when they get to the stage, I can imagine them walking out all scared.
Honestly,
I'm saying,
I don't
I'm saying
think
when,
they're
not
scared.
if. Okay, just to be clear.
If Freshie
Um,
walks on stage, he is going to look more at home on stage than anywhere he's ever looked at home in his life.
True.
He's got that kind of personality. You know, he's going to look at the lights and be like, this is where I belong. This is my home now.
Mm-hmm.
So an
And
even
then
bigger
Boss
buff.
go ahead and win the major, and North America is great again.
Yeah.
That would be maybe the greatest storyline of Counter-Strike history.
Free agent. What if we get a Boss Drilla's final and Boss win it in Shanghai? 2 unsigned teams, essentially, making it all the way to the final.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
Bob-
like go ahead.
I say Boss wins it because the coach of Drillas decides to make an infraction round 3. I'm pretty sure he got an infraction round 4 of their opening round of the
you
RMR.
serious?
Yes, he did
For
for yelling
what?
too loud or something.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's literally Onipixel. So
yeah.
So do you think he read the book, or do you think he even remembered anything
No.
from the book?
There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
Exactly.
Apparently their jerseys sold out within like I think it was like 10 minutes or something. Not even.
That doesn't
Good
surprise me.
Lord.
Yeah,
Can we get
Drilla-
Boss jerseys?
Yeah.
I want to see. That's what I'm saying. I want to see the Boss jersey. I really want to see what it is. If it's just a black shirt, like the old, okay, that's fine. But I really want to see their jersey. I'm hoping it has something on it. I was giving them some ideas back in the day, and I don't know if they took them or not. So we'll see.
Just ask Freshie for a jersey pick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true. Yeah. Or I can just wait 45 minutes and we'll see it.
Wait, are they playing in 45?
Are they playing in 45 or an hour 45?
They
Or
play,
2 hours and 45?
Oh, they play 2 hours. Yeah, they're one of the later
2:45?
matches, yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay, so who we thinking? So Nouns is the top end.
No, I think Wildcard's above Nouns. And I think
Okay.
Made in Brazil is also. I think by putting. Did we settle that Made in Brazil would be on that, could make a run?
I think so.
I think we can agree with that.
Okay.
Okay. And then, yeah, to talk about Nouns being that top of Miracle, I would put Wildcard above in my opinion. But
I would too.
Yeah, I would too.
Recency bias aside, they still should be ahead.
the question is Red Canids or Legacy? And who goes where?
I could.
I think Legacy first personally, but
I can go with that.
like
I mean,
Legacy
Legacy
wildcard.
Yeah, Legacy did beat Wildcard for that
Yeah.
spot at Cato.
Yeah.
But they do trade series, but the most recent game was a
This-
Legacy victory.
This is where I can honestly drop Red Canids here
Okay.
at the end
I'm
I can
okay
see it
with
there.
that. I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
behind Nouns. Yeah.
We're heavily discounting South America, but I'm all for it personally.
Well, I
So-
feel like South America doesn't have the same depth as North America. Like you look at the teams outside of like the top 4, and it just falls off massively.
Yeah,
If you're
I
crying
think-
out loud, Case and Crew qualify, and these guys never sniff a close qualifier. every single team from North America in the RMR challenges finals at the close qualifiers.
Yeah.
And then
That's
there's
true.
Party Astronauts and NRG who aren't even here.
Yeah. That's still wild too. Yeah.
To be
And
fair,
again, I could
Case-
throw out Izola's laser too.
look at the teams that were in the close qualifier. They had Fluxo. They beat Audic, Solid,
Oh yeah, Audic and Solid and Fluxo didn't make it, which is strange.
Sharks.
Sharks.
Those are 3 teams or 4 teams that I look at that I see consistently in those close qualifiers. Fluxo's that one that you see batting for a chance, realistically speaking, if not being the favorite. To not see them here is definitely a bit surprising. They lost to they got 5th. They were on the cusp. They were 3-1 and lost to Crew in a best of 1, I guess, and they just didn't get in because of that head-to-head. I don't know.
Huh.
Interesting. Because they had to cut it off. Like the 3-1 team didn't make it, and Fluxo was that team. So I'm not sure what happened there. It looks like they lost their opening, went 2-0 in every single elimination match from there, and still didn't make it. Which is hard.
Yeah. Well, are we going to settle on Furia, Liquid, the favorites, Complexity, Pain, and Good Chance, M80, 9Z, Boss, Imperial, and Maiden Brazil in our Make a Run area, Legacy, Wildcard, Nouds, Red Canids for Miracle, and Bestia Crew and Case with not a snowball's chance in the Fires of Hell?
I'm good with it, I think.
I'm good with it. Now, if we're going in precise order, do you put Pain above Complexity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just more consistent. They might not have that same high, but they have a far higher floor.
Look, I'm all about Copium, but yeah, I just think realistically Pain's got a way better chance than them.
And I think M89Z could be flopped. Boss could even be below Imperial and Made in Brazil.
Boss should be at the bottom of this, but we're going with our hot take, so
yeah,
let's
that's
leave
fair.
Boss where they are, right in the middle.
Yeah. M80 more recently success and more recently a struggle than 9Z, so that flip-flops too, but I think this is more or less the correct order.
Yeah,
all right.
This is good, boys.
Official. I'm going to save it real quick.
Not bad, not bad.
Our official RMR tier list.
This is either going to look
takes.
really good or we're going to look real dumb. It's going to be great.
Just like the last major. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember which major it was where everybody got like the silver coin or whatever. Like
Paris, I
pick'ems.
think.
Was that Paris? Yeah, because that was a disaster.
I got a gold in the last one because I failed the first groups.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. I got like 4 out of 7 or something.
Yes.
But I feel fairly confident in this, okay? I feel
I
like
do too.
NA's on the rise. I feel like there's a big separation between the bottom of NA and the bottom of South America, but I'm probably going to be proven wrong. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, like, just looking at the matches here real quick, that's free for Complexity, or it should be. I'll rephrase. That's free for 9Z, or it should be. That's free for MIBR, and that's free for Imperial. This could get ugly, the wild card liquid matchup. Pain Nouns could get ugly. M80 Boss, NA Derby. M80 should win that. Boss
It could be a 13-3 or a 22-20.
Yeah, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's not going to be an in between. It's either overtime or it's 13-3. There's no in between. So
Scrim Bucks, baby.
Scrim Bucks, baby. Yeah. Yeah, there's some good games though. Like those first 4 that we're seeing like on your Monday category. Like, I don't know. That Furia Legacy game, I think that's gonna be a really good opener, in my opinion. Liquid Wildcard, yeah, that one's a tough one because
This
I think
is the one I
Wildcard
want to watch.
I do want to watch that one too because like man, it's so hard not to talk about Liquid. Like I was so pumped for them in the beginning, but things are just it's not looking great. And I'm not saying like I actually think Twist is I think he's doing a pretty good job. And I thought it was actually going to be way worse in the beginning. I thought it was going to be a train wreck, to be honest. But honestly, just given his experience and his knowledge, like it was working. But that honeymoon period, I think it's maybe kind of over now, I think.
I'll be honest. Watching North America is part of our job. That burns you out a bit. And then the amount of tournaments that have been so far in Europe, Eastern Europe even have been absurd, and I can't not stay up to watch those. Just straight
Yeah.
up. I don't
We
get to
all
watch
have
Liquid. I
jobs.
don't get to watch Torfuria. I don't get to watch half these games.
I'll give you
Or
that
actually,
updates.
not even half, like 70 to 80% of these games I don't get to watch. Or maybe we'll watch a final every once in a while on a Sunday afternoon if I have time and I'm not doing other stuff. But Furia, Liquid, even Complexity. I catch more Complexity than I thought I would. But those two specifically that are at the top dogs, I know next to nothing about. I was surprised I still saw Fallen on a team. So, you know, in that respect, this could be entirely upending expectations, or it could be like, why are they discounting these teams so much? Why didn't they talk about them enough? It's because everything's in Europe and we don't have time or the right time zone to view them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, all three of us work full-time jobs, so there is that.
And a second job that's only in North America. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
I do count that as a second job.
Or a third job, in my case.
Yeah, or a third job, or you're going to school, or,
So what, do I get 4 now?
yeah, I would say so. Just stacking them up. But, the point still stands where, like, we're not going to know. That's why we didn't do anything like any other RMR. We have no idea. You don't get to watch these games. Even the top tier teams, we don't get to watch half the time because there's one tournament in North America once a year, maybe two. And one of them is a challenger level event, so we already know what's going to happen there. It's how it is.
Yeah, but it'll be good. It'll be exciting to watch these regardless, and whatever we can catch and stuff, right? Like even I know some of these times are a bit ridiculous, but I'm actually excited for the China event or in Shanghai, I should say. Sorry, like that's gonna be really really cool, and yeah, like those we're never gonna watch those, but.
I mean, this is when I wake up to go to work half the time. This is when I woke up to go to work today. It's at 4 a.m. This is Central Time just for you watching the YouTube video. It's 9:25 Central right now. So games are starting in 35 minutes. Laz and Nate are 2 hours behind me. But it's just... So that's a 2 a.m. match start for them, a 3 a.m. match start for them. Even on the East Coast, that's 6 a.m. And who that follows Counter-Strike is waking up at 6 a.m.? Let's be real.
Look, well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I have some buddies like on my IM team right now, and like they stay up late and they'll watch and stuff, but I'm like, there's no way, there's no world I can do that right now. So it's just, and like we're the three of us are all like that together. We're just like, no, we can't. We don't have that flexibility, which is a shame, right? Because I always love to be able to watch as many games as I can, but it's just hard when you have these events in these kind of certain areas. But either way, it's still I'm so excited for it regardless, even though that we're at a bit of a disadvantage for the viewership. So
yeah,
I just wanted to add that caveat, for our tier list. Not only here, but why aren't we doing anything else? It's because we don't get to see anything. It's how it is. And next year's major will change that. The Dallas major will change that.
Woo.
We'll get to see a
Live
major
podcast episode?
ideally in person. We'll get to see it
Yeah.
in person. Exactly. Maybe an in-person podcast if we can get more than 10 views.
Hey, we had
Would be-
34 on YouTube last I saw. So
the
YouTube
goal.
viewers coming in clutch.
That's good. That's good. So we're making progress. Maybe there can be an in-person one. Maybe there'll be an in-person stream of the stream. They do that for other games. Maybe not Counter-Strike, but be
yeah.
optimistic. That's going to be exciting. Big North American tournament to look forward to. I think Boggs, you had one more thing you wanted to talk about. Some actual domestic NA news.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
We
Yes,
just
this.
talked about this in the last episode. Stamina looking really good with Undefined, getting 60 on the team, and everything was starting to settle down. And what was the comment you made, Laz, about Stamina and his roster stability?
yeah, well, I made the comment. I said Stamina, in my opinion, was known as the guy that like joins a team. He only lasts for a couple weeks, couple months, and then he leaves. As soon as I saw this, before I even opened it, I just burst out laughing because I just said, are you actually kidding me? Because we had this episode last week and I was so excited. And I think all three of us were on the same page. We're like, this team actually looks really, really good. And all of a sudden he's like, I'm good. I don't want to play anymore. Now, when I read the article, I understand that it's really unfortunate, but also I could not believe the timing. It was just impeccable.
Timing was impeccable, but I will say there some pretty big pickups on this team.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty, they didn't look like a good thing for this team because I feel like when Stamina leaves a team, it often dies or it becomes a shell of its former self. But I think in this case, not only did they have the players to kind of pick up the slack, but they found two really good slot-ins, really good additions that I didn't think were going to be so ready to jump on a team, eager at the opportunity. You see one on the screen, it's Skadoodle. You get another former major winner from North America re-entering the foray, and we also get a veteran in himself, Steele, to join this team, who he had some dabbling in advanced. He kind of really struggled. I think he was on a team that was stuck with playing with two players of the old team for like the first 6 games or something like that, and they really just kind of struggled from there. But this is a really good chance for them. They're only replacing 2 players. That means the full 5 will get to play together from the outset going into the next season of advanced.
I think they still have playoffs too.
Oh, this is added pre-playoffs. They're in playoffs too.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. They
Season
can actually
51
earn a
playoffs.
spot in ECL potentially.
Yeah, I mean, look at this roster.
It is good.
It's a crazy roster. Got Chop, MOTM, Lurk Support / Anchors, 6C, who's probably going to be back to full firing potential. Got Skadoodle on the op, Steel to do whatever the hell Steel does as an IGL. It's a scary team with a bunch of seasoned players in domestic competition and 2 old heads, to say the least, and it should work out swimmingly, I would say. I think a honeymoon phase alone for this team should carry them through playoffs through and through.
I don't know if there is a team that can necessarily counter not only the wealth of experience on this team. You just put Skadoodle and Steel together and you have oodles of experience. You have a major on this team, but you also have 6C, who's at the top of North America as far as raw firepower is concerned. You have 2 of the better supportive players in Chop and MOTM. And the thing is, too, with Ska and Steel, I'm going to be looking towards MOTM in particular to be unleashed more as a secondary fragger with 6C. And we know Ian can play very well individually if he needs to. And it might be just what he needs to get back into the fray as a consistently performing, high-performing rifler.
Yeah, that's an exciting prospect.
Yeah, and the only thing I was going to say, if I'm going to be pessimistic, even though I'm supposed to be Canadian and optimistic, but I do think this roster looks good, and I'm very excited for it because I think I'm a huge Steel fan. No biasness for Canada, but the only thing I am nervous about is just after the playoffs of what's going to happen, because I think Steel, I feel like he's pretty much made it known that he is like working a lot of talent. Like he's kind of bouncing between CS and Valorant. He's doing all that. Everybody's still kind of wondering what his plans are. Like, is this the project going as soon as his ban's over? Like, this is what he wants to do? I have no idea, but I am a little bit nervous about just his availability. But at the same time, if like he actually is going to be able to play as much as he can, I think this like, as this tweet is from 6C, like they did cook. I think they cooked very, very well here. Like, this is some premium beef. And honestly, this is a team that has full potential to make into ECL. No doubt about it at all. Like, look at everybody on here. So I hope that's the only thing that won't happen against him is Steel's availability issues. But otherwise, I'm excited. And seeing Ska like playing when he played on Vibes, or I think they're called Vibe actually. But I mean, when they were playing in that, they played a lot of CCT. I saw some good games from them. I actually got to commentate a few of them, and then I saw not so good games, but also that was still, flopping around between like players like Nothing and like Polo and some other guys, and they were like really desperation rosters at times. Swag, yeah, as well. So I mean, I think that was just kind of getting your feet wet and playing some of the competition, and also playing at a pretty high level when all of them have been retired for a long, long time.
Yeah, and just seeing this to start off roster shenanigans heading into playoffs, not even the end of the season. I'm expecting, honestly, the end of the major and the end of this ECL season, the end of the advanced season, really going to see a lot of movement around. The question is how much advanced talent is going to move up versus ECL talent moving down. But just seeing this alone, it really gets me excited for this offseason to see what is going to be cooked up in terms of these middling rosters that potentially have that wiggle room to swap players around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential moves to be made in North America. There's a lot of potential for some upsets at the RMR as well, which might just completely change the whole entire scope of everything. So I think a lot of that does hinge on how successful a lot of these teams, Nouns, Wildcard, are at the MIB, are at the RMR. I don't think Boss is going to make a move. I don't think they should. M80, I don't think is going to make a move. I don't think they should. Complexity might be looking at that. I'm not sure. we'll see. Again, a lot hinges on the Shanghai RMR and how everyone comes out of this once the dust settles.
Yeah. And I think like even just kind of going back to my last comment about Steel, like if teams like Complexity kind of drop like not very well at this, like if they don't even qualify, like let's just say they don't. Let's just say they completely choke. Like, yeah, let's just say they go to no chance. I mean, no doubt in my mind, there has to be a change. Like, I mean, this team has been through a lot where like they've been getting a lot of opportunity to do well. And then if Steele is like looking to play, I would not be surprised if Jason Lake was on the phone with him and said, what can I do to get you in this group? What's it going to take for me to get you to be a Complexity player? Just because I'm not saying JT's doing a bad job, but also Steele just has a very different mind for the game, so much experience. And I think that would be a value. But again, like, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm just saying, like, when I made that comment at the very beginning of the episode about 2025, like the roster shuffle could be real. And I'm glad you brought up that article about this whole new team in advance of Undefined, because that was another caveat to it, just saying like, these are guys that could potentially get, jimmied around to some of these teams as well. So that's where 2025 can just be such a whirlwind of, unpredicted things that we're about to find out. And it all comes down to this RMR and people just qualifying and not qualifying.
I agree.
Yeah. Not sure of anything else to say, honestly. I'm just excited to see what happens. At this point, we already know teams are going to cook. The question is, how hard are they going to cook?
I mean, you can see the timestamps too. These games starting 25 minutes from right now in the RMR. Any final thoughts, gentlemen? Laz, we'll start with you before we get ready to get this one out just in time with the first matches of the RMR.
All I'm going to say is I'm just going to prove you wrong with Bestia, but that's all I'm going to say here, and I'll end my comments now. Thank you.
Ooh.
I'm going to prove you wrong with Boss, okay? Prove you wrong with Boss. Even though you said they're coming through, I'm proving you wrong with Boss.
Look, I'll have it on record if Boss somehow... Wait, actually, I got to be careful how I say this, because I also said they could make a run.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'll be careful here, because I was going to say...
I offered them $20 each to sponsor. I'm just saying right now.
That's also what the official We Three Kings tier list says.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they qualify and they have like half decent jerseys, I'll buy you a jersey.
Oh, yes.
You just made Nate the happiest man this side of the Mississippi.
And if Bestia qualifies, I'll buy you a Bestia jersey. You're welcome.
I'm not that much of a Bestia. I don't want a Bestia jersey. Get out of here.
Okay, fine.
I'm just saying I think they're that potential to, do a little bit of damage, but we'll see.
Okay. I'll take this bet, and I offered a nice answer, and you said no. So, kind of disappointed. Boggs, you have any hot takes?
No? I feel left out here. So, if 9Z make it, I'm gonna get myself one of those purple and cream 9Z jerseys.
No, I'm getting one anyway. I don't care. I'm getting one anyway. Those are too clean. Those are really too nice. Clean.
Yeah, let's get rid of that. That's just worth buying just by the aesthetic alone.
It's one of the few esports jerseys that I'm like, I have to get one.
Yeah, those are
maybe
really
the
nice.
Only one, honestly. I got a Complexity one at Dallas because I felt like I had to, but the 9Z one is like I just need that.
That is a beautiful jersey.
It is a nice jersey. Yeah, I think they actually have one of the best jerseys. I think, in my opinion. So that's pretty impressive.
The best,
color.
I'll be honest. I'm really hoping they get to the tournament. I want to see that color scheme all over everything.
Well, I think that wraps up our second in as many weeks of We Three Kings. The RMR is here, and probably something heading into the major RMR recap, something along those lines coming up next. But, gentlemen, it's been great to have this again. I think we had a pretty good one, and I do love our tier list. Just having Boss smack dab in the middle is kind of very on brand. So, I love it. Anyway, thanks again for joining us here on We Three Kings. We hope you've enjoyed, and stick around for the next one, and be sure to watch the RMRs coming up. Well, they've already started by the time you're listening and watching to this. So anyway, until the next one, until the RMRs are over, have a good one.
Bye.
Boss up.